Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good evening, everyone. So today we are going to continue our Dhamma talk series on PāRAMī. Fulfilling the perfections in order to attain the ultimate liberation. In the previous talk we discussed about the reflection on PāRAMīs, how one should reflect on PāRAMīs in order to get the urge to practice them or fulfill them. In the previous talk I was only able to emphasize on or elaborate on two reflections of two PāRAMīs, that is to say Dana PāRAMī and Sila PāRAMī. So today I am going to talk about the reflections in brief about Nekkhamma PāRAMī, Paññā PāRAMī and Viriya PāRAMī.
Pada kesempatan kali ini Bante akan membahas perenungan PāRAMī terkait dengan Nekkhamma PāRAMī, Paññā PāRAMī dan Viriya PāRAMī.
So when the reflection is done, we get the urge to fulfill the PāRAMī. That's why the reflection has to be done. In our sasana, all the spiritual practices are based on two main reasons. One is seeing the benefits of the practice and seeing the dangers of not fulfilling the practice. So whenever we see these two aspects in a particular spiritual practice or spiritual quality, naturally we get the urge to develop them. One who wants to give dana should see the benefits of giving dana and the disadvantages of not giving. Then one who needs to practice sila should see the benefits of having sila, being virtuous and disadvantages of being unvirtuous. One who wants to meditate even should see the benefits of meditation and then disadvantages of not meditating. Even in vipassana meditation, when you go into the meditation subject even, what we do is see the defects of sankharas and see the benefits of nibbana. So likewise, whenever we are supposed to develop a certain spiritual quality and get rid of certain defilements, what we should do is see the benefits of that particular quality, disadvantages or dangers of not developing it, and also the dangers of being with defilement. So when we contemplate like this, naturally the urge would come up. That is why the reflection on PāRAMī is very important. Reflection on PāRAMī is thinking about a certain PāRAMī, its benefits of developing it and disadvantages of not developing it. So that is very vital. Anyone who wants to walk upon the path towards liberation has to do this in order to get the strong urge. Because it's like we are swimming against the current. The natural current is to flow downwards, but we are swimming upwards in the river. So in the natural, our mind process is automatically or naturally dragged towards the defilements towards the unwholesomeness. That is the natural phenomenon. So what we are doing is we are trying to go against this. So this always needs lots of effort, lots of courage, lots of determination, and we have to stick to these good qualities. So therefore reflection is very vital in order to develop the PāRAMī. So before we go into explain each and every PāRAMī, it's better that we understand them briefly, the reflection, so we get the urge to fulfill the PāRAMīs in overall sense. That day I talked about the reflection on Dana PāRAMī and Sila PāRAMī in brief. I also like to emphasize that when I am leading this lecture series in future talks, I'll be talking about each and every PāRAMī in detail. What is a Dana PāRAMī and how should one fulfill it? What are the varieties of the Dana PāRAMī? And also in those lectures, on those talks, I will also be explaining the Dana PāRAMī reflection in detail. But these few talks I will be dedicating for reflection of PāRAMī in order to get the initial urge. So when we are listening to the brief explanation of reflections, we get the urge that we should do this very seriously. So then after we have explained the PāRAMīs in detail, the listeners would be able to follow it very thoroughly. So last talk I talked about Dana Parami and Sila Parami reflections, and now today I'm focusing on Nekkhamma reflection, Panya reflection, and Virya reflection. So Nekkhamma means mainly there are 5 types of Nekkhamma. First is, the Gatha says, Pabbajja Patamajjanang, Pabbajja Patamajjanang, Samato Nibbanancha Vipassana, Sabbepi Kusala Dhamma Nekkammanti Pauchati. First is Pabbajja. Pabbajja is ordaining, giving up the household life and becoming a monk or a nun. Pabbajja. Patamajjanang, developing samatha and attain the jhanas, because when you attain the first jhana, you give up all the defilements. It's a great level of Nekkamma. Pabbajja Patamajjanang, Nibbanang. When we attain the Nibbana is a state that is free from all the conditioned realities and defilements. So Nekkamma resembles giving up certain attachment towards certain things and giving up certain condition or certain kamavatu, the objects of desire and all this. So Nibbana is free from all these conditioned realities, and it is considered as a Nekkamma. Vipassana, while we do Vipassana also, we get detached from the world. It's a great Nekkamma. And Sabbepi Kusala Dhamma, when we are performing any sort of Kusala, Dana, Sila, Bhavana, our mind becomes free from defilement. So therefore, these are the 5 aspects of Nekkamma. But when you look into the Jataka book, it is very clear that the Nekkamma Parami is mostly focused on Pabbajja, giving up the household life and becoming a recluse or a monk or a nun. At the same time, even by living as a lay person, one can also do some sort of Nekkamma by observing 8 precepts on Uposatha days, Sabbatta days, and also by attaining meditation retreats, having given up attachments or bondages for a short period. Still, Nekkamma can be developed even at house. If you can get rid of the attachment towards, strong attachment towards certain things or beings, that is also one sort of a Nekkamma. So therefore, Nekkamma Paramita is mostly focused on detaching from the objects that appeal, defilements that are very attractive. So therefore, but it is very difficult for us to get rid of this thought because the range of objects of these Kamavatu is very vast. So in order to fulfill Nekkamma, we have to reduce the attachment towards these objects. So reflection is very helpful. So we'll now discuss how we are going to do that. Yeah, so then first we need to think that for beings, for most of the ordinary beings, almost all the beings, the natural tendency is to consider the Kama world as the most precious thing. Kama world, especially the Kama Sugati, that is to say human and divine realms. We consider them as the refuge of us. So we always want to depend on these lives and also these objects. The most attractive object in the world is the life, our existence, because we do like to see objects, hear objects, and to continue to live as a living being. This is called the Bhava Tanha in Pali. This is called Bhava Tanha in Pali. But Bhava Tanha is found in every realm, beings in every realm who has not attained arahantship. But the beings of the Kama realm are more attracted. More attracted means they have some special attributes in the object. That is to say, they can enjoy the sensual pleasures while living in the Kama realm. So therefore, naturally, beings are the most precious world, the realm for the divine, for all beings in the Kama realm. Time to time, some beings may go into the Rupa realms by meditating, but even if they stay for a longer period, after some time, they naturally are dragged towards the Kama realm, because though they suppress the Kama Tanha, the Kama Raga, before going into the Brahma realms, and while staying in the Brahma realm, though it's been suppressed, after such a long period, it naturally comes up. It naturally arises. Arises means it causes for the Brahma beings even to like the Kama realm. It doesn't appear as a Nirvana, but there's a sort of a liking arising. So Kama Tanha is a very fundamental basic defilement within ourselves. So therefore beings consider this Kama realm as the most precious realm, and the life we have it is the most precious object for living beings. It is important to know why are we attached to the Kama object so strongly. That is because of one main reason. Kama Vatus do give us pleasure. Because of Kama Vatus, because of this life, because of all these objects, we get joy, bliss, happiness. This is called the asada of Kama Vatu. Asada. There are three ways the asada can be explained in Theravada teachings. The most easiest is a certain object. If certain object gives us pleasure, if happiness arises due to a certain object, that happiness is the asada of that particular object. Asada is the happiness caused by a certain particular object. Now think about a child. When a child is seen, or when we are with a child, parents obviously get a lot of happiness seeing how the child is speaking or what he or she is doing. So this is the asada of the child. Think about a house, a nicely built, luxurious house. We get a lot of comfort while living there, and also we are happy to own a house. So knowing that, considering that we have such a big, large, luxurious house gives us a lot of pleasures, and even we can talk about in the public. So these are all the pleasurable feelings, feelings that we, pleasant feelings that we have due to certain objects is the asada of a particular object. And for example, think about our lives. Sometimes we are very happy about our success, what we are doing, and when we possess these 5 aggregates, pleasure, bliss, happiness arise in it. So therefore it is a reason for happiness and so forth. So happiness, in short way, in a short definition, the happiness that arises due to a particular object is the asada of that object. So since there is asada, since the object has a causal power to bring up this happiness, so naturally we tend to like the objects. If an object is bringing us suffering, we will not get attached to that, right? Think about some sort of a food. If you eat, you get sick. So we are not attached to that object as a food, because we know that that food doesn't bring me any happiness, only the suffering. So we are attached to the things that produces happiness, joy, pleasant feelings within ourselves. So therefore, as the objects do have this quality, it is natural for us to get attached to these objects. So this is the asada of objects. Yeah. So the thing is, now though there is asada in Kama objects, there is also adinava. Adinava is the suffering that it causes. Adinava can also be explained in various ways. The adinava of a particular object is it passes away, it causes suffering, it is a non-self object. So there are various ways that we can interpret the adinava. One easy way is adinava of a particular object is it causes suffering to arise in us. That is the adinava of this object. Either the suffering that is arising in us due to a particular object. So now if we analyze very deeply, we find that adinava is much greater. It overweights the asada of a particular object, of that same particular object. So when we see these two aspects, one object possesses both asada and adinava, and the adinava is much greater than the asada, then we can easily get detached from that particular object. So in order to develop the nekkhamma is getting away from karma objects, especially becoming a monk, or especially observing silas for us, opposed of the silas and so forth for a particular time period. So in order to do that, we have to get rid of certain objects. We cannot have nekkhamma with all the karma objects with us. A monk cannot be a monk with, for example, with a wife. It's not possible, right? So these two are not compatible. So one cannot observe 8 silas and still live a household life as a normal lay person. So in order to practice the nekkhamma, we have to cut the link between certain objects. So since the attachment is very strong towards this object because they bring forth asada, so there should be a way to cut this bondage. So in order to do that, what we are supposed to do is do a contemplation. See the actual adinama, the troubles that these objects bring to us. So when you keep on contemplating, at some time the person will be able to cut off the bondage and do the nekkhamma. Yeah. So Buddha in many sutras and also in the Vinaya Pitaka has given some ways to for this contemplation, to see the disadvantages of karma objects and see the advantage of giving up them. And also we should know that karma objects are like a cake that contains poison. Now a cake containing poison cannot be seen from outside, right? You just see the outer coating, the cream and the smell, and we can assume the taste. If it contains poison, you cannot see it through the eyes, you cannot judge it from outside. Only after you have done some experiment, you will be able to understand the poison in it, how dangerous this cake is. So likewise, the asada is obvious in karma objects. Asada is very clearly seen. Unless that object is directly bringing you harm, but in most of the cases, asada is very obvious. Adinava is hidden. Adinava is hidden. So only through a wise contemplation we will be able to understand the adinava, which is much greater than the asada. That's why contemplation is very necessary. So how do we do this contemplation? It's very vital to understand. One way of contemplating, before I come into the explanations given by the Buddha, one way of contemplating, this has also been emphasized by the Buddha in many words. But if you contemplate, now think about the asada of a particular. Think about having a French cuisine in a French hotel, for example, because French cuisines are very famous in the world. So anyone would like to go into a particular branded hotel and very famous hotel and have the cuisine or have a dinner. So it gives you some fame, like it's a prestigious hotel, and the food is very tasty. And in order to go to such a hotel, you should have some amount of money, because not everyone cannot go there, afford there. Nothing. You are in Indonesia, if you want to have that dinner in France, you have to have a plane ticket. You have to travel to France and then go to that particular hotel and have the dinner, and lots of expenses you have to spend for this particular thing. Now that experience will be very nice, and people would not forget that, that's for sure. Now think what is the nature of this experience? Experience is you are tasting the flavor of the tasting the food, and also having that experience in the hotel with a pleasant atmosphere. Then if you look into this, because some people cannot afford such a dinner, because it's just a one meal, because that dinner is not going to help you to live for the whole life. Even next morning you have to have your breakfast, because that dinner is not going to sustain your body for even for a one day, right? So not many people will be able to afford such a dinner, afford such prices for a one dinner, for a one single dinner. So therefore it's obvious that not many people can afford such a dinner. So why some could do that? Why some could do that and why some couldn't? because of their capacity. In order to spend money for a single dinner, you should have another amount of money as your reservations. Only then you will be able to spend that much money for a particular dinner. In order to have that money, the entire money to such a level, one has to work to have a proper job. In order to get a proper job, one has to study. So normally for 12-13 years you are studying in school. Only after getting the exams passing the exams well, you will be able to get that particular job, and while working hard you will be able to earn that much of money. So only then you will be able to go to the French hotel and have the cuisine. Now this experience of few hours, maybe it's 2-3 hours, okay, think that you spend in the hotel for 3 hours, but these 3 hours, this experience, all the asada that you had could only be earned by lots of hardship throughout 20-30 years, because the one who have not gone through this hardship and not earned that much of money will not be able to get that pleasure or get that experience. So what does it mean? That pleasant experience is produced by a lot of hardship. And how long is it going to last? When we are coming out of the room or out of the hotel, it's gone. You can still remember it, but you cannot enjoy it as you were inside. You are not going to get the same feeling. If you could, people will be happier. We will be able to talk about their experience. They will be proud about themselves for going into such a place and having a meal. But you are never going to get that same experience by recalling it. If it was possible, people would not need to get new experiences. You'll be able to get you'll just having a one experience for one particular important experience, and you'll be able to recall it and get the same feeling. No, it is not. That's not how it happens. You have to have that object in the present moment. So therefore, that particular incident experience lasts for a very short period, and in order to get that experience, one has to work so hard. So this shows the adhinava of that particular, and also it passes away whenever you come out from as soon as you come out from the hotel, it's already passed, and in order to get such a new experience, you have to again work hard for that. So it shows that there is asada. We cannot say, we should not say that there is no asada. Yes, obviously there is asada. That's why we are attracted to it. But it's the adhinava is hidden. If you are able to contemplate very wisely, you'll be able to understand the adhinava of a particular experience. And sometimes one may feel, if someone is born into a rich family, they will not have much difficulties. But in order to be born into a rich family, in past lives you have to have done many merits. So only through hardship one will be able to get such a rebirth. So therefore, every pleasure that we experience in samsara, each and every pleasure that we experience in samsara is gained through a lot of hardship and effort. And that pleasure, though how hard we have worked, is not going to last forever. It's a very temporary pleasure. So therefore, this is one type of adhinava in the kama objects. Yeah. So now Buddha also has mentioned kama vattu. Kama vattu is the objects. Kama objects are like a bone without flesh and blood. Now think, if you give a bone to a dog, the dog would try to eat it. In most of the cases, it will not be able to, if it's a very strong bone, not be able to eat it, and it will try, because the smell and everything is there, but it will never fulfill his desire, or it will never remove his hunger, quench his hunger, because he is not getting any real substance into the body. He will try as much as possible to eat something, but since the bone doesn't have any flesh or blood, only the dog will end up being tired. It will get fatigued. So likewise, beings do enjoy the kama pleasures in order to satisfy their desire. The dog's purpose was to get rid of the hunger, to remove the hunger, in order to get fulfilled. So we also associate kama objects in order to fulfill our desires. But what happens is, even though we just get some experiences while enjoying certain pleasures, that is never going to fulfill us. It's like filling a bucket that has a no bottom. How much you put water into it, it will always be empty. How much karma pleasures that we enjoy, how many times we do, doesn't matter. In the end, you are not going to get anything out of it. It will all be gone very soon. Therefore, each and every moment when the mind arises, it needs to be, in order to be a fulfilled person, each and every moment when the mind is arising, because mind passes and arises, one has to give it some food, that is the karma objects. And then what happens is, if you keep on giving the same object, then it will also get bored. Therefore, one can never satisfy one's desires by enjoying pleasures. It's like a dog trying to remove the hunger by eating a hard bone without flesh and blood. Okay. Then another simile is, kama vattus are like a lump of meat taken by a bird. Think a crow or a hawk has taken a lump of meat and flying. What happens? When other birds see it, they'll come and attack it. Either they'll try to kill it or to hurt it and then take the lump for them. They are going to steal it or they are going to forcefully take it away. As long as the bird is carrying that lump and flying through a flock of other birds, surely it is going to be attacked. That's obvious. So kama vattus are like this flesh, lump of flesh. When you possess certain valuable things, wealth, money, property, many people are there who are going to loot them, who are going to take it from you. Sometimes you may feel, is it very serious? Yes, obviously. That is why we put gates in our houses. That is why we need a lock in our doors. That is why we need CCTV cameras. That is why we need a security in a house. That is why we are adopting some dogs in house. Why is that? Because we know subconsciously there are many people are waiting to steal from us. The kama vattus are such, they are very common to everyone. If now, for instance, think about a knowledge that you have. It's also one sort of a kama vattu, but its contemplation has to be done differently. We are not going to do that deeper level. Now think about knowledge. You are not going to secure knowledge for whatever reason, because no one can take it from you. But think about the other stuff, money and valuable things. Even a partner can be taken by someone else, so that's why we are sometimes cautious what she or he is doing. So likewise, kama vattus, why is it possible? Because kama vattus are common. It can be taken by someone. Partner can be attracted to someone else. Objects can be stolen. Therefore, these kama vattus are lump of flesh carried by a bird. Only as the bird is secure from this is free from this suffering of being attacked, only when it gives up this flesh. So likewise, as long as we possess kama vattus, these objects, it is not possible that we will be able to be in utmost peace, because we already know that there are certain people who are waiting to steal these things from us. Then another simile is, kama vattus are like dreams. Sometimes we see very nice dreams. When you wake up, it's gone. But while you are in the dream, you feel like you are truly experiencing it. But when you wake up, it's gone. That pleasure is gone. Think about a nice dream that you have ever dreamed. So then think about the pleasant experiences that we have had in our lives. Having nice meals, or encountering with the beloved ones, or whatever 5 sensual experiences that one has had. When you recall them, you can just remember it, but not much pleasure or effects are found in you while you recall it. Sometimes you miss it. You feel that it's better if I could have that experience back. So these are just like dreams. After you wake up, you can recall the dream. It's not going to give you any sort of significant pleasure. The same way, the experiences that you had in past with certain objects are not going to give you any significant pleasure. Now, if the pleasures had happened in a previous life, it can also it could not even be remembered like a dream. At least a dream you will be able to recall it for some time, but experiences that we had, being a king or a deva or a brahma, according to the teachings, we have had all these experiences throughout the samsara. So one would never be able to recall them. Even one will not be able to recall them unless he or she has the Pubbe Nivasanusati jnana. So the one who can recall, in most of the cases, the one who can recall doesn't have the karma pleasures, is not tempted by the karma as well, because one has to have jhana in order to recall. That's something else. So if the pleasures were beyond the previous life, before this life, you cannot even recall them. Even like a dream could be recalled, but not those experiences that we had. So Buddha called the karma vatus like he considered them similar to a dream, like a dream. So another way to contemplate, that's because we are sometimes very much attached to our karma objects, but they don't have any significant value in this regard. Yeah. So when you contemplate likewise, the desire to practice nekkhamma increases, and we'll be able to get rid of karma objects and practice the nekkhamma parami. So now when I move into the panya parami, panya is the wisdom of understanding the reality. So out of all paramis, the most important is the panya, because our final goal is to understand the reality and attain the nirvana. You cannot do it without developing panya. So panya is the most significant parami out of all. So developing panya is very vital. If someone has not developed this, they are never going to attain nibbana or any spiritual attainment. So one has to think like a body without life can do nothing. All the faculties without the consciousness are of no use. So likewise, all the activities that we do are of not high significance if they are not associated with panya, wisdom, understanding. So whatever activity we do, we are supposed to do it with panya, but it's not easy. So what a person should think is the benefits of panya. A dana becomes powerful or more fruitful only when it is given with panya. A dana, even sila, is more fruitful or stronger when it is done with panya. Only when panya is present, one is able to contemplate, as I mentioned, and get rid of karma vatus and go into the nekkhamma. Understanding the realities is obviously without panya, it cannot be done. Virya, effort, is also fruitful and useful only when done directed with panya. It's been only managed with panya. So likewise, all the other paramis need panya parami in order to become effective. So therefore, practicing panya, developing panya parami is very, very vital. First we have to think the benefits of getting panya and disadvantages of not having proper panya. Yeah. So, and then how do we develop this panya? The most important way, the foremost way of developing panya is listening to good doctrines, studying them, listening to good Dhamma talks, questioning the Dhamma, clarifying the doubtful facts, and also studying certain deep spiritual doctrines or philosophical doctrines. So when you keep on studying, your panya develops. And also sometimes math, science, when you study such subjects, you develop a certain faculty of understanding. So it's very vital that we always engage in some activities that enhances our faculty or capacity of understanding. So it's not that the capacity of understanding is only developed by listening to the Buddha's teachings, by doing some other subjects, righteous subjects. If you are able to understand, solve problems, questions, quizzes, so that capacity increases. That is very vital when we are going to understand realize the realities and get rid of defilements. Only when the wisdom is flourishing, one is capable of getting rid of defilements, giving up the things that we attach, and also getting rid of certain bad habits. So therefore, wisdom is very vital. The most significant way of developing wisdom is by listening to the Dhamma or studying the proper doctrines. And then even by meditating, having a composed or a concentrated mind would also helps you to take proper decisions and to have a clarity in understanding. Sila is also very vital. So one should engage in activities as much as possible that increases their wisdom, panya. So first, for that, one has to understand the benefits of panya, and then the disadvantages of not having proper deep wisdom. And questioning is also very important in developing panya. Whenever you have doubts, whenever you have unclear points especially about the Dhamma, it's very vital that do not keep them in yourself, but to ask from a learned person who is capable of solving the problems. So we call it in Pali the paripuccha. So through paripuccha, one will be able to clarify the things and have a clear understanding. Knowing wrongly is, we normally say knowing wrongly is more dangerous than not knowing, because if you don't know, you know that you are not knowing it. But knowing wrongly is much dangerous, because the person thinks that he knows while he is actually having a wrong understanding. So therefore, if there are any questions about Dhamma, it's very important that you question them without hesitating and try to get a proper clarification. Yeah. Then we move on to the Virya Parami. Virya is the effort. Its function is to continue the activities, good activities that one has initiated or begun without stopping in between, without completing, without stopping till the person has reached the end goal. So virya is very vital. If someone doesn't have virya, effort, he or she would not be able to achieve the final goal. Even in day-to-day lives, day-to-day tasks, in our ordinary life tasks, if you want to achieve something, you have to work hard for that. In order to be a doctor, obviously you have to work hard. In order to be an engineer, obviously, lawyer, all these significant achievements in life is gained through effort. Now, we are talking about a liberation, getting out of the samsara, stopping a rebirth, getting rid of defilements. How much effort, how much courage that we would need in order to achieve this task. Think about becoming a Buddha, reaching the omniscient knowledge and becoming a person who could be venerated by even the gods and who will have the unlimited capacity of wisdom, ability of psychic powers. So this can never be achieved with less effort. One has to work so hard, relentlessly, without stopping in order to reach that final goal. Therefore, virya is very vital. Without virya, no significant achievement can be attained in this life. So if you are talking about a liberation or attain the ultimate bliss called Nirvana, surely there must be a great effort that drags you or helps you to reach that final goal. So when you keep on thinking like this, the importance of virya, which starts to develop this spiritual quality, which is very vital. So without having virya, if someone doesn't have virya, sometimes people lose from the fortunes they already have. They'll not be able to protect the wealth that they have already earned. They'll not be able to maintain the businesses their parents have already brought into a certain level. So therefore, not having virya is very dangerous, and it makes you a very weak person. So sometimes we do tend to be lazy. Yeah, it's sometimes okay in our day-to-day lives, because we cannot keep on working all the time and taking a rest. Taking a rest doesn't mean you are getting lazy. Sometimes we may give up our certain tasks and have some time for ourselves. But if you are talking about a spiritual aspect, it's very important. The effort is to maintain your wholesome mind throughout the day, which is a very difficult task. Now think about your job. You'll be focusing on the job, and there will be a time that you are not focusing and enjoying yourself. But when you are talking about the liberation path to liberation, there is no time that one can rest, because you are trying to purify your own mind. So that doesn't mean that lay people always have to practice and they should not have any time for their sensual satisfaction. So that is why a lay person delays in the path, because their path stops when they are enjoying the sensual pleasures. A monk and a nun doesn't have this problem. If they want, they can continue in the path throughout the whole day or the whole life. That's why ones who crave or ones who desire for a quick liberation gets into this holy life. So path towards Nibbana, the effort that you want to have is much, it needs a lot of great courage and great effort, and always to be alert about our mind and what we are supposed to do and what we are supposed not to do. And to maintain that standards is very vital. Therefore, if someone is willing to be a Samma Sambuddha, if you consider about the achievements a Buddha makes in his final life, it is very vital that the person develops high level of effort. And also think, a person who wants to be a Buddha, now Arahantara Samma Sambuddha achieves the task by eradicating the defilements and getting liberated. But a Buddha, even after the liberation, relentlessly work throughout his whole life to liberate other beings. So a person who wishes for Buddhahood should have immense level of effort. So therefore, it can be developed by doing day-to-day activities. Now, if someone is focusing on their jobs or their day-to-day activities or the responsibilities for towards their family, if you can fulfill them without any leaving any unfinished work, or fulfill or complete them, you develop this capacity of virya. That virya would be very helpful whenever you are practicing the meditation, fulfilling the sila, and walking on the path towards liberation. That's very vital. So therefore, whenever you have the opportunity, try to develop this faculty called virya. Yeah, I will conclude my talk now and giving the opportunity for the Q&A session. So, so far we have discussed 5 types of reflections. Reflection on dana, sila, nekkamma, panya and virya. On the next talk, I'll be doing the remaining 5 and then move on to explain each and every parami in detail. And I'll be explaining each and every parami in detail. So, the 5 paramis that we have briefly discussed, the reflection on 5 parami on which we have discussed so far. Now, you can also think about them in this angle. Dana, sila, nekkamma are aspects of giving up mostly. Now, with dana, we give up the things that we are attached to, our possessions. Then sila, we give up our bad habits, physical and verbal bad habits. It's also giving up, sort of a giving up. In nekkamma, especially if it is ordaining, we give up the bondages towards things and we start to live we renounce the household life, or temporarily we get rid of our bondages if a lay person observes sila and so forth, Uposatha sila and so forth. So these three are types of renunciations, and if someone practices samatha meditation and vipassana meditation under nekkhamma, that is also a sort of a giving up, because in samatha you have to give up the thoughts towards sensuality, and in vipassana even the meditative experience cannot be enjoyed as a normal yogi. One has to even consider it as anicca, dukkha and anatta. Whatever object they meet, they have to be very disciplined in contemplating them as anicca, dukkha and anatta. Then in order to do these three giving ups, letting goes, dana, sila and nekkhamma, one needs to have proper wisdom. Unless the person has understanding, these three letting goes cannot be done. So wisdom should be there. And also that is the wisdom that helps us to attain the nirvana as well. So dana, in order to do dana, sila and nekkhamma, one has to have understanding why he is giving up and what are the benefits of doing so and so. Then even though someone understands what to be done and what not to be done, unless the person has courage, effort to continue, the person is not going to achieve anything. So wisdom becomes effective only when the person works towards his goal, towards his in order to make his understanding a reality. For that he needs to have a lot of effort. So you can see a link between these paramis, and then we'll try to understand the remaining paramis as well in brief in the next talk. Then afterwards I'll be talking about each and every parami in detail, about what are the types of dana and how one should be doing it, and what sort of danas that should be avoided, and how a dana will become fruitful, and how to contemplate on dana and so forth. So since it's a lecture series that I'm planning to give, so therefore once I mentioned virya become fruitful only when it is associated with panya, and panya, your understanding, you can benefit out of it only when you have virya to practically to practically make your understanding a reality. It means to achieve what you understand, or to make your understanding a part of yourself, you need to have strong virya. So this will be the lecture, and I give you the opportunity to ask the questions.
Madami Bande, it is said that there are three types of bodhisattvas, which are the bodhisattva with wisdom, bodhisattva with faith, and the bodhisattva with effort as their attributes. But then please explain in practice, what is the point of view of these bodhisattvas when doing parami such as dana, effort, and determination, etc. Anumodami Bande.
Okay. So regarding the Mahabodhisattvas, there are three types. Their difference appears at the moment they get the first proclamation. We call while they are doing the abhinihara. Abhinihara is the moment they become destined to become Buddha. At that moment, some bodhisattvas have high wisdom, some have a middle range of wisdom, some have a low range of wisdom. That low range doesn't mean that they do not understand anything. So the commentators, the sub-commentators have elaborated what is this lowness. On that occasion, when the Buddha, I think now the our Sumedha got the proclamation from Buddha Dipankara, right? So on that occasion, when the Buddha, if the Buddha is giving teaching a stanza of 4 lines, gata, one gata, if a bodhisattva could understand the meaning and eradicate defilements and become an arahant with 6 abhiññāna and 4 discriminating knowledges, which we call patisambhida. 6 abhiññāna and patisambhida. If the bodhisattva could attain arahantship, not a normal arahant, becoming a normal arahant, with the discriminating knowledges and the 6 psychic abhiññānas, he is considered, before the 3rd line finishes, he is considered a Panyādika Bodhisattva. Then a bodhisatta, if my memory was correct, at the end of the third line or before it finishes. I think when the third line is finished. Then, I'm not sure about that slightly. So then, if a bodhisatta could attain arahantship with the 6 abhiññāna, the patisambhida is not mentioned, 6 abhiññāna, during the 4th line. The 4th line is not finished yet. During this 4th line, while the Buddha is uttering this 4th line of the Gatha, that bodhisatta is considered saddhadika. He has a middle level of wisdom. His saddha is considered to be very high. Then if the bodhisatta could attain, become an arahant with the 6 abhiññāna, when the 4th line is finished, on that spot, he doesn't need to go and meditate like we do. Such a bodhisatta is considered as low wisdom. So don't consider this low wisdom is not dumb. This is, compared to other beings, this is extremely swift, sharp, wise person. But compared to the 3 bodhisattas, this is slow wisdom. This is low wisdom. Now consider the standards of a bodhisatta. This is the moment they become destined. This happened for Asankheyas and 100,000 kappas back. In order to come to that level, the bodhisatta has to practice for a longer period. I have mentioned about this in the most probably second or the third PāRAMī lecture, the talk. I explained how a bodhisatta gradually develops till this abhinihara. In Jatakas, unfortunately, we don't have the stories during that period. That is the most difficult period I would consider, because the bodhisatta is not destined yet. He may walk on the path or he may go away from the path. Possibilities are there. So he has to maintain and come to that level of becoming a destined to become destined to be a Buddha. So that is the criteria of defining who has higher wisdom, who has middle wisdom, who has low wisdom. The ones with higher wisdom is called Panyādika. The ones who have middle wisdom are called Saddhādika. Their Saddha faculty is higher. The ones who have with low wisdom are called Viryādika. So this change, this difference in this moment of the wisdom especially, makes a huge difference in these 3 beings. What happens is, a Panyādika bodhisatta takes 4 asankheyas and 100,000 eons, mahakappas, to become a Buddha. The Saddhādika bodhisatta, who could attain arahantship with the 6 abhiññānas during the 4th line of the Gatha, takes 8 asankheyas. It's almost double. The period is double. 8 asankheyas and 100,000 kappas. Then Viryādika bodhisattas who could attain arahanthood with 6 abhiññāna, at the end of the 4th line, take 16 asankheyas and 100,000 kappas. So it's 4 times than the Panyādika bodhisatta. So during about their characters, I'm not in a position to exactly say how they would behave. I can assume, this is just an assumption, assume that Panyādika bodhisattas would be inclined more towards the wisdom. They will be more investigative. They would be more into understanding, and they will like more the wisdom aspect, and their saddha aspect is not seen much. It says their saddha is lower compared. Now 3 faculties are there: saddha, panya, and virya. So out of the 3, Panyādika bodhisattas have a very high wisdom. Compared to their wisdom, virya is middle and saddha is lower. It doesn't mean that they don't have saddha. Compared to the other 2 faculties, saddha is lower. Saddhādika bodhisattas have a higher saddha, middle wisdom, and a lower virya. And the Viryādika bodhisattas have a higher virya, middle saddha, and a lower panya. This is one explanation that I have studied, right? There are various explanations. Some says it doesn't mention about a middle aspect in some bodhisattas. So some different teachings are also there. So therefore, this now Panyādika bodhisatta during his paramis would be more inclined towards the panya, Saddhadika Bodhisattva would be more inclined towards Saddha. So different, surely obviously different characteristics would be manifested in them. Viryadi Bodhisattva would have a different aspects. He will be more courageous to do certain things. He is more inclined towards the people or the characteristics of working hard and achieving something. Saddhadika Bodhisattvas would be like more faith based, and they are more towards they'll be more venerating and saddha aspects, the deeds that are, they would like to perform deeds that are associated with saddha and so forth. A Panyadika Bodhisattva would have a different approach. So I personally feel if three of the Bodhisattvas at a later stage, like Kassava Bodhisattva, the Kassava Buddha was a Saddhadika Bodhisattva, our Buddha was a Panyadika Bodhisattva, Mitteya is a Viryadika Bodhisattva. If they have met in the beginning of this kappa, all three, who are almost there to attain the Buddhahood, I think they would have contrasting characteristics. They would have contrasting. They are very intelligent, they are very virtuous, they are very nice beings, obviously, but surely they would have inclinations would be quite different. And another thing to say is when they are close to the Buddhahood, all of them would be manifesting all these three qualities to a very high level. So maybe in this kappa all three would have been in the same level in that regard, but if you think about during their PΑRAMީ period, obviously they would have manifested different characteristic traits in them. So that's how I would say. But in the end, what they achieved, they all achieved the Sabbanyuta Jnana, omniscience, and then Yamaka Patiharya, the capacity to perform the twin miracles, and Mahakaruna, the unlimited compassion towards the being, and 32 signs of a great man. These are the these are 4 characteristics that every Buddha possesses.
In Indonesia time is now 9 p.m. So is it still have time to maybe one more question, Seda?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Seda, my friend asked through me about the Aneka Jati chanting. So that one bhikkhu suggests that Aneka Jati Pali is better to chant at morning time because this is the stanza, Buddha's stanza when he got enlightenment at Aruna time. So the better time to chant Aneka Jati Pali is at the morning about Aruna time. I want to ask about your suggestion, Sayadaw. Is it better only at morning time or any time that we want to chant Aneka Jati Pali?
Personally, I don't see any. I'm not criticizing that answer actually. I don't see any significant relevance between the time and the gatha that has been uttered. If you take Mangala Sutta was uttered in the midnight, so then it's better to chant the Mangala Sutta in midnight, because Parabhava and most of the sutta that were uttered to Devas were given in the midnight. So maybe there can be some reason, I don't know why that Venerable has said that. In my opinion, yeah, if you can do it early morning, it's better because you can start the day with a very impressive stanza that encourages you to get rid of samsara and emphasizes the benefits of Nibbana and the attainments of your teacher, of our teacher. So it's a very nice gatha to start the day, but I don't see any reason why it should not. Even Sayadaw has not said not to recite in other days. He has said that it's better to recite in the morning. So I would say any gatha, any Buddha's teachings would be good if you can start the day with. So other than that, I'm not seeing any specific Dhamma reason for that to be uttered on that moment.
Thank you. So the all question for tonight is done already. Thank you for all the answers. How we can get more and more Dhamma every day until we attain Nibbana.
Okay, so what we have done, so today we have listened to Dhamma and clarify some questions. So may this merit be able to helpful for us to attain the final bliss of Nibbana, and may this be a parami for all of us. And also we may share this merit with the deceased beloved ones and also the devas. Idang me punyang asavakkaya vahang hotu. Idam me punyang nibbanassa paccayo hotu. Itthavata ca amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang. Sabbe deva anumodantu, sabbe bhuta anumodantu, sabbe satta anumodantu, sabba sampatti siddhya. Idang vo ñāti nang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñāti nang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñāti nang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Mama punya bhagang sabba satta nang bhajemi. Te sabbhe me samang punya bhagang labantu. Sadhu sadhu sadhu. Buddha sasanang chirantittatu, Buddha sasanang chirantittatu, Buddha sasanang chirantittatu, sadhu sadhu sadhu.